Today, I'm talking to Ben Moss of South Florida Compass, a luxury real estate specialist and the East Coast director of the Sports and Entertainment Real Estate Division. According to the Wall Street Journal Trends Report, Ben's sales production ranks him nationally among the top quarter of the top 1% of realtors. He is a member of the invitation-only Masters Brokers Forum and is a $1 Million Guild member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. He frequently presents on real estate market topics to entities such as Who's Who in Luxury Real Estate, the Miami Dolphins, the University of Miami's Executive MBA program, and Centro Spank. Ben says that for him, real estate is not a business so much as it's a passion. We talk about how to apply a mindful approach that will grow your business. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we're so excited to have Ben Moss in Miami, Florida, a top producer who is known for working with celebrities and athletes, and top agent in the country, as well as a top agent in Florida. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jere. It was great to see you and meet you in person last week.
Good to meet you in person last week. Good to see you on video this week. Tell us a little bit more about your career, kind of what does your team look like? What do your sales look like? And then we'll take it from there.
Sure. So just in a really nutshell, I got licensed in 2000 and started off in commercial real estate doing office leasing, and then back into the residential side back around 2005. And I went to college with some football players, had some friends, and that's kind of one thing that led me to the trajectory of sports and entertainment. And as far as my team now, obviously I'm at Compass here in South Florida and coming up on 3 years in January. Amazing, loving it. And I think we've got 7 on the team right now. I've got 2 salaried people and then 5 licensed agents that are helping me execute. And last year, I think we did 120 transactions and just around 60 million in volume.
Wow. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your team. And I think if I get any questions, it's always about everybody's team structure. And I know we're going to really hone in with you on value and niche. But before we do that, on the topic of teams, you've got 7 team members, and that includes you. 5 agents, 2 are admin. What are the admin roles? What do they do?
So I basically have an assistant that kind of helps you with everything. And as I tell her, everything she does is stuff that I have done throughout my career. And the best thing that I ever did was get an assistant, was get a full-time salaried assistant, because that was probably a couple of years of should I not. And when I did, it was just, besides the stress, just the production, everything increased. So that would be the one thing I'll tell your listeners, Jere, is do it. If you're at that point where you're even thinking about it, it's time to do it. And then the other person I just brought on this year to work a system of lead generation from expired listings and phone calls, doing research of emails, kind of capturing that information and going from there and really seeing if he can generate leads. He's a licensed assistant, a licensed person also that we hope will progress into doing deals, and then we'll train somebody to come in underneath him. So more of like an inside sales agent, if you will.
So he's inside sales agent, kind of helping generate leads, follow up on leads, online leads, things like that. And then you've got an main assistant. Does she handle listings, closings, both, marketing?
Well, what's funny is she actually took out an NFL player for me last week who was coming into town during the Compass retreat, and I couldn't be there. So she loved it. She did a great job. She took a detailed note of every single property, what he thought, what he didn't like. So by the time I got to it, there were 10 property showings and I knew exactly what happened during each one. I said, I haven't even done that in my career. So I'm learning something from her. And that was her first time. So
that's awesome.
We all
got to keep her.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's great. She has a passion for it. And for me, that's what it is. It's just if I can surround myself with people who we feed off each other's energy, then that's really what it is. And then we do a great job, have strong ethics, but she does everything for me. So anywhere where I need help, and including on design, scheduling appointments, things of that nature. I mean, she doesn't handle negotiations and, some of the trickier aspects for me, but.
So she kind of like your right hand. Now, as far as the team,
like right
does the team work under the support of your mentorship, or do you have other things that the team leverages through the systems and tools that you've got, or how does that work?
Well, my goal is I want to create a team of all-stars. So I want us to each figure out, what are we good at? I know what I'm good at, and I know stuff that I don't like and that I'm not so good at. So I'm going to go deep into what I'm good at, what I enjoy, because I think that's what makes us long-term sustainable and happy and productive in this industry. So I've got another team member, Jere, who, his dad is a Hall of Fame football coach. So we were at an event, and I said, Eric, what about starting a podcast of your own, interviewing head coaches? And sure enough, he did it, and he's like 8 in. So to your credit, you're an amazing conversationalist and have had all these interviews, and now he's doing that. So that's a great market that he can tap into that I can't tap into NFL head coaches. Or he interviewed Steve Kerr, he interviewed Mike Tomlin. I mean, if you know anything about coaches, he's going straight to the top, and he's got these templates. So now what I'm trying to do to answer your other question is support him and say, hey Eric, have you reached out to these coaches? How are you developing these relationships? What's the plan? These kind of things. And so the mentorship, a lot of what I provide for my team is really more, let's say, big picture, holistic. I'm a big morning routine person. So, just getting people to be their best selves. And how do you do that? By actually taking a step back and making sure you show up, but you got to get your mind and your body right before you show up for the day. That's something I really believe in. So a lot of it's around that kind of stuff, not even specifically real estate.
Okay. So now I've got 2 questions from what you said. One was, everybody's going to want to know your schedule. So don't worry, everybody. I'm going to ask that, but I want to back up a little bit more, because you said, I want everybody to do what they're really good at. And I know what I'm really good at. What is that?
It's developing relationships with people. I was at a lunch today with a guy who does a lot of high-end insurance, for instance, private client, this kind of stuff. But we talked about meditation, some stuff he's doing in schools. And at the end of that lunch, I've already made 2 introductions for people that I think could be a benefit for him, and vice versa, that he will benefit by meeting. And a lot of what I do is try to say, how can I add value in people's lives? Because just by being kind of inserting myself in their lives like that, they see me as something other than one of the 50,000 realtors in Miami, or something other than somebody who just wants to sell them something. So a lot of that's what I do. And real estate provides me the platform to be able to connect with people.
Exactly. So you're really good at connecting with people. And I think, as someone listening in, I would say you're really good at, when you're working with people, as a salesperson, I think there's a lot of outside pressure to just sell and make your numbers and get a client. And that can really turn into what they might call commission breath, which you clearly don't have, is approaching people with, what do you have to offer them? What can you do for them? And it sounds like you've kind of figured out that naturally comes back. Does that kind of phrase it pretty well?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm also trying to add other components to my business, which is why we got the inside sales guy to come in, and I partnered with somebody up in the county north of me in Broward County last year. And I said, look, we're going to do your mailer campaign. We're going to do this because I don't know how to do that, but you're really good at that. And you can tell my story around some sports entertainment and record sales that I had in those markets. And I saw an opportunity because I didn't see the competition in that market like I see in other markets. And I had a good story to tell. So now I had a platform and a way to deliver it. So listen, I'm still trying to grow, and I'm not trying to just rest on building relationships, because I could do that for the rest of my career, but I also want to learn new things too. And I think that's the other part, is keep evolving in this industry.
So you said you have a story to tell. What's your story?
Well, I think my story to tell would be, a lot of the story that I tell is, if you have already tried the person that you think of first, the person that really farms an area, for instance, and you tried and you saw that they were very good at getting listings in their neighborhood. It's a good business model. I'm not knocking it, but oftentimes I find it doesn't add a lot of value to the home seller. There's a lot of marketing of the realtor in that neighborhood, open house signs and a bunch of listings, but what are they really doing? Is there a marketing plan? A lot of times I see that there isn't. So what I try to come in and do is say, look, I'm tapped into a network of brokers all around the country. The athletes are recession proof. Doesn't mean I'm going to go sell them something expensive every time, but I do have access to that. I just closed a couple of deals with Heat players, just closed 2 deals with a former Major League Baseball player all in the last 6 weeks. So that's a market that I'm into for sure. I got a former football player's house under contract right now, go on and on. But I think it's providing a really solid marketing plan, taking advantage of lot of the technology tools that Compass has to offer and saying, I'm going to think differently because I'm not the guy you think of first. That means I'm talking to brokers in Miami and Key Biscayne and Miami Beach and Davie and Fort Lauderdale, and I see migration patterns happening all over town. So I see what's out there. If you're just in one little submarket, you may not see the more macro level of what's really happening in South Florida because it's a macro market. It's not just Davie or not just Coral Gables.
Right. Exactly. I love that. And also, it's like, it's funny because on one end, you don't, you talk about having a niche, but on the other end, you talk about, but don't get stuck in a market. I think it depends on your business model too, but definitely is what do you have to serve? How do you offer more value? And before I do go into that, because I want to tap into how you figure out what you're good at, tell us a little bit about what your schedule, because you're into routines, you're into schedule, you get habits, obviously. What are yours? What does your day look like?
Yeah, so it's I think you have to have a certain level of discipline and creativity at the same time, and one is not mutually exclusive of the other. So I think let's say, I get up at 5 every day, so that means my day starts the night before, because if I don't get my to bed at a certain time, and then I'm not going to get enough sleep, then I'm not going to be able to get up at 5. So for me, it's like a big mental and physical connection. And no matter how I woke up, if I woke up feeling a little anxious, a little tired, a little happy, whatever, by the time I've done my routine, then I'm good with this. So that's where the discipline comes in. But then I give myself space, let's say, to say, hey, I'm going to switch up my gratitude practice today, or I'm going to do this type of meditation instead of that type of meditation, or I'm going to, I was going to go to the gym, but I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to go run some stairs today. And so finding some creativity and some way to be more in the moment without forcing it. The forced part is getting up at 5. And I'm glad, because I never feel like doing it, but I'm always really happy.
You're always glad when you do it.
I'm always really happy when I did my morning routine and then worked out. I'm coming back and it's like 7:30. My kids are awake then. And, it's just such a blessing.
Or when you don't do it, the pain of not doing it makes you do it again.
The pain, yeah. Well, I know I'm off. When I don't do it, like my day is off. So I do it weekend. I don't wake up at 5 on weekends necessarily, but I really try to still do the fitness part, and I still try to at least get the meditation in. The gratitude you can do while you're driving, so there's certain practices like breath holding I'm not going to do when I'm driving, but gratitude, little things like that.
Amazing the difference it makes, because you start realizing how much you're to be thankful for. But so Ben, tell us a little bit about your day. Like exactly what does that look like? You start at 5 a.m., you get up, walk us through a day with Ben Moss.
Well, I think the first thing, Jere, in this business is so crazy. Like you got to look at it like a roller coaster, right? A roller coaster can be up, it can be down, but it's all good. It's all fun. And if you try to figure it out ahead of time, then it's probably not going to be so much fun. So I try to be in the moment. So the first thing I do is implant a thought in my head, which is it's an honor and a privilege to live this life. So that to me kind of kicks me in the butt and makes me want to get out of bed, because I'm like, oh, I get to do this now. Like this is amazing, while I'm wiping the sleep out of my eye. And then, typically what I'll do is meditation. I'll do like a 20-minute meditation. I do some breath holding exercises. If anybody knows Wim Hof, some of that kind of stuff.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, and I'm always changing it, right? So Wim Hof is the Iceman. So if anybody wants to Google him, I've seen him in person at a conference, and I did some breath holding stuff, and I was like, this is amazing. So I'll typically, and I can tell if I'm not on or I'm not as focused, I can't do 2 minutes. If I can do 2 minutes or more, then I know physiologically like I'm in a good place. So if I'm not, then I'm saying, okay, what is it that's not allowing me to get to this state of relaxation today? And through the mindfulness and meditation, you're always trying to come back.
But you're doing how many minutes? 2 minutes or?
Well, yeah, at least 2 minutes is the goal.
Is that meditation or is that?
No, well, it's not a meditation, but what happens is when you're sitting there with no breath, because you actually. That's what
I thought. Right. 2 minutes is a long time for no breath.
Yes, you oxygenate your body and then you release the breath and then you sit there and there's a stillness that comes in that is just amazing.
Okay, how do we learn it, or tell us about it? Tell us how to learn more about it.
Well, the Wim Hof has the Wim Hof Method. So you can
spell that for us.
Yeah, Wim is WIM as in Mary, and then Hof, HOF. I think it's just one F, the Wim Hof Method.
Wim Hof. WIMHOF method.
Method, yeah.
Awesome.
And sometimes I have a sauna with incandescent lights, and sometimes I'll meditate in there or do mantras. And, so I'm like an amateur biohacker. But what I found, the main thing is, this is what I do, and everybody's different. So everybody resonates with different things. But I know when I put myself through my routine, and then I get the physical component going also with the exercise or moving the body, it's like I'm drawing that in together, and I'm ready at that point to go execute. And at that point, but I will say also, I think one important thing to say is, like, I don't check my phone, I use my phone for meditation app and things like that, but I don't check my phone for emails or texts or anything like that until I'm done with all my stuff. So usually like 7:30, 8. Usually it's after that, because by the time I get dressed, get the kids off to school. So, and then I don't really, unless there's a deal happening, and of course if there's something urgent, then yes, but I'm pretty much done by like 6, 6:30, 7, maybe the latest. And so I'm getting a good, 12, 13, 14 hours with no phone and no technology. And I find that that's huge. The old me would work 6 days a week. I'd be watching, like, I'm a Canes football fan, right? So I'd be watching Canes football on a Saturday, and I'd be like, on my laptop, looking up, I missed that play. What happened? And I'd be doing many things and nothing very good, and not really enjoying.
Sounds like, the life of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, because you got, like, obviously you figured out this way of, to be highly productive, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to have a routine, and you've got to have focus, and you've got to have people, assistants supporting you. I mean, that's really like the common denominator is, like, it's not just me getting out and working 24 hours a day and doing it all myself, but it's me taking care of myself, me having the right people in place to help grow. How did you figure out on the meditation and, the mindfulness and the not watching football games and working at the same time, which I can attest that I'm not as good at that as you are. I don't watch football games, but I'll do 2 or 3 things at once. Not good. Is there something that happened that gave you that epiphany, or did it evolve, or how did you figure it out? And what's the difference between before and after?
Oh, it's definitely an evolution. I mean, I'm like a whole different person from who I was when I started in this industry, because it's like a drug. It's like an addiction. I had 4 screens at one time. I have 2 screens now, but I had 4 screens. I thought I could be like ultra productive and have a day trade on the top and then do real estate on the bottom 2 screens. And that one didn't last long, but my wife would laugh at me when I had the 4 screens. But yeah, I was trying to do everything. And so I was that guy, and I would work 6 days a week. And, I would go to Europe for like 3 days because I didn't think I could get away. This past summer, I was away for 6 weeks. So, and I need more money. So it's like, I think it's actually because of the mindfulness practice becoming kind of, I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, when I was 30. I'm 41 now. And that just blew my head open. And at that point,
did you read Awakening? I'm sorry. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, no, that was like that's like Ben 2.0 started at that point in time, and I realized like a lot of things, and I don't know half of what I will know hopefully in another 10 years, but on that path of trying to be intentional, trying to be present. Like I realized during the Great Recession, I was divorced at the time and I had to live by myself. I always had the TV on. I was like, I'm not watching Jersey Shore. I'm watching CNBC for the news. But then I realized like my mood was here, and now my mood is here because it's all bad news. So I just said, I'm shutting it off, and I haven't turned the TV on. I mean, if I turn my TV on once, twice a month, and it's usually to watch a sports game, I don't watch. I've never seen Ballers. I've never seen any of these shows on Netflix. We have
a lot in common on that, because I haven't either, and it's kind of fun to be able to talk about those things, but it's not fun, especially the news. I don't watch it.
Yeah, I mean, like I do have to. I find myself wanting, when I have my phone in my hands all day long, right? I'm wanting to see, what's happening with the impeachment scandal right now. So we always have those temptations.
You don't even want to know how little I knew about that.
But we all have our.
And I was like, is that going on?
But we all have our triggers, and I think that's the thing. It's just I'm aware, and I try to be aware of what are my triggers and what do I need to like. I can only put so much in here every day, so much stimulus or input. So I'm trying to limit the bad stuff and be aware of what is it that I want, and it's a process for sure.
So 2 things. Well, number one, you said be aware of what I want, but give us like, what did it look like before? What did it look like after? I know you've given us a little, oh, no. This is it. This is really what I want to know. What do you want is one question. But before that, you said 6 weeks in Europe. How did you pull that off?
Well, so I know I would go for 3 to Europe. I did 6 weeks outside of Miami, so not in Europe.
Okay.
But it's a testament to my wife, because when I first met her, she's like, "We're going to Thailand, and it's 9 months from now, but we're going for 6 weeks, so you got time to prepare." And then the day rolled around, I was like, "Oh,
I like your wife. She's
what am I
smart.
going to do?"
Yeah.
Yeah, she's smart. So then I realized, I was like, you know what? When I'm out of town or traveling, which I do a fair amount in this business, then I don't check email all the time. I can check in 2-3 times a day, and I'm doing just fine. We're even at the retreat last week was a good lesson on that, right? Because we're all at this retreat, but then we still have business going on. We still have negotiations and things happening. So I don't think we think we are much more important and have to be much more connected than we are. But I think if we are focused when we are connected with what we're doing, that's really all that matters. And that's the thing that I'm really trying to,
Well, I think there's a key thing you said there, focus.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, like when we were in North Carolina for a month, I would get up at 4 and work until noon, because I knew I wanted to spend time with the family in the afternoon, and then I could check in as I needed to. But I said, I don't want to wake up at 4, and I would work out in the afternoon, not in the morning. So it was part of it was like, what's my environment like, and what can I do to still achieve what I have to achieve, but still stay in that balance of life, because work is just one part of me. I don't ever want to be that. I think we all know these top producer realtors who are ancient and they're still working. And is it because they love it, or is it just because they don't have anything else or know what else to do? And I don't really aspire to that. That's, with all due respect, they've had a great career. But that's not what I want to be. I don't want to work 12 hours a day when I'm 80 years old or 70.
Well, and it's interesting you made the comment earlier that this business can be an addiction. And sometimes I wonder, is that a little bit of you get it in that, your habits are powerful. You have habits of mindfulness and being conscious of your decisions and what you do with your time and your day and the people you love. And then you have the sense of urgency of our business is never ending. And it's important to have a sense of urgency, but be able to put it into perspective and prioritize it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to come off saying like, I don't feel down when a deal blows up or something like that. Of course, there was a listing that I thought I was going to get. I didn't get it. And I was like, they went with that person? Like, okay, great. But it's like, okay, how quickly do you move on, and where's the opportunity, like the old me would linger, let things linger for a lot more. And
that's
now
not
I'm just like, all right, let me absorb it. Let me feel that. And then let me move on. Like, I'm not going to sit there in that space. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you talked about, before we started recording, you talked a little bit about in your business, how, you're like, well, I've got a team, but I'm not a big team guy, which obviously you are. You're big on helping other people become better versions of themselves, but you're really good at, I think, serving clients from a place of really for their benefit, not just getting a deal, and serving them and figuring out what you're really good at, because that's how you serve people better. Tell us how you got on that path, what you're really good at, and what advice you have to other agents to do this, to get on the same path and be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think, we hear the word authenticity a lot and purpose and all these things, and we have to each figure out what does that mean to each of us. And so for me, because I'm on this, spiritual path or whatever you want to call it, I was like, I have to do what's right all the time. Like, I don't want to lie here and then be truthful over here. Or I don't want to compromise my ethics here. And then, so it's like, first of all, I really do think, like, figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve and what are your core values. And then stick to it. And sometimes that means you have to have tough conversations with yourself, like wake up call here, like what's going on here, or with a client or with a team member. But it doesn't mean you have to be, rude about it or raise your voice or, like stamp your feet, do all the things that let the ego get the best of us. So I think it really does come down.
No, go ahead.
Yes, I think it really just does come down to what are your core ethics and principles. And then I think as far as servicing clients, I find that the realtors that are most successful are the ones that really take service seriously, as opposed to those that are just trying to get a deal done. And we all want to get deals done. And like,
exactly.
We're all in for the thrill. We love getting the deals done. But at the same time, if we can't sleep well at night or look ourselves in the mirror because we're compromising our ethics to get deals done, I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. personally. So I really think, it's like, hey, I don't mind scrubbing the toothpaste out of the sink. I don't mind unpacking the Marlins player's, trunk full of stuff when I'm in my suit, when he just came down from spring training and he's got to be at the ballpark in a couple hours and I'm just dripping in sweat and we're just, hey, like this is what the day brought. Let's just do it. And that's part of
it's like how can I help you? How can I serve you in dealing with anyone? But you broke it down in two things when you first started, which was just always keep in mind two things. What are my goals and what are my values? And you might even say, what are your goals and what are your clients' goals and what are your values to keep and that gives you, it sounds like that gives you the compass, no pun intended, maybe, anyway, by which to make decisions and lead you on a path to success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't always resonate with that. And like one thing that's top of mind right now that I'm having a call with my team, because we do a team call every Monday morning. And I've really been struggling with time blocking. I know I should do it. I know that's the most important thing is to connect with my sphere. That's pretty much like the one thing that I have to do, Jere. And I do a really bad job of it, right? So it's like, man, but I feel like too mechanical about it sometimes. So then recently I've been trying to be doing something creative every day and really putting creativity as a value of mine. So, there's a guitar over there. So now I've started playing my guitar again, because that's what I find is one of the best ways to create this habit of creativity daily. It could be something as silly, like I'm just putting myself out there, but like the other day I had to run in the house to get something that we left behind. And instead of just walking in and getting it and moving out, like I kind of like jumped around and did some little twirl. And it was only because I'm trying to do something creative. Like I'm not trying to do the same, walk in the house the same day. And so it's just a habit. Like if you really think
be present.
If being present is like, okay, I'm going to walk in the house and I'm going to skip and jump and do this. First of all, it's kind of fun. You move the body, so there's nothing wrong with that in a way that maybe you wouldn't have if you're just walking in a straight line. But I think more than anything is so anyway, so to bring this back to what I'm talking about right now with my team this morning is like, guys, we're heading into 2020. We got time blocking. We're going to talk about this. It's not going to go away. We got to figure this out. But I said, rather than call it time block, what about just calling it a creative hour? So this is my creative hour from 9 to 10. And okay, I know I have to connect with people. So there's the discipline part of it that comes back to like when you wake up at 5 and you do this and you go to the gym, you invoke a certain discipline in your life, which I think is crucial, like for anything. And so, but you have to be creative also. So the discipline doesn't work all the time, and it doesn't work for me for time blocking. So my thought was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I will call 2 of the 15 people on my list, but then maybe I'll write a long letter to the third person that I feel like I haven't connected with on this and that. And then maybe I'll share a podcast that I heard last week that I thought about sending to 2 people that I didn't. And maybe I'll put a happy hour together and invite 15 people. So by the end of it, it's like the creative process has flourished and probably better connectivity with the client and with the sphere, rather than mechanically doing something that you should be doing when you don't want to be doing it. I don't know. It just doesn't.
Exactly. That's a great example. Like if there's any part of this podcast that needs to be heard, I think it's what you just said. I mean, the whole thing, but that even, when you get in this business, it feels like, oh, it's just deals, it's just sales. And when you start getting to be creative about how you interact with people, what you can do for people, how you can bring people together, what you have to offer them, it's amazing the compound effect of what comes back into your business and I'm sure your team. So we've got just a few minutes left, and I want to get the final 3 that we always ask on the show. The final 3 questions. Number 1, what do you feel has been the most beneficial tool to you, your business, and or your team? I mean, that could be like a compass tool, a CRM, an app.
Yeah, so there's something back when I was at Sotheby's that it's called App Files, appfiles.com. And,
wait, say that again, appfiles.com.
files.com. I'm not sure if they're only in Florida, but when I came over to Compass, I told the App Files crew, I was like, because they only deal with companies. And I said, guys, I had introduced them to Sotheby's at the time, the franchise down here. I was like, I'm leaving, but I can't leave if I don't have you guys come with me. Like, you need to make an exception and let me continue using App Files. So they were nice enough and they said yes. So that's been an amazing tool.
So tell me the app one more time. How do you spell it?
appfiles.com. But think of it as like a DocuSign on steroids. Like it's compliance, organization, DocuSign, PDFs, signature requests. I mean, just has all the forms loaded on it. It's amazing. Like, and I can pull it up on my phone. I can pull up a deal from 5 years ago. and say, oh, I remember I did this deal and I had to put this lease clause in here, but like, boom, it's right there. Like everything's just, it's an amazing tool. It's not a CRM.
It's incredible.
So that's different.
I've never heard about that. I guess because it's typically with corporations, but I'm going to have to check that out. Appfiles.com.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question, book. If there's one book that you would recommend us reading or that has most affected your life and your career, what is it?
Wow. I've read so many books. I think books have been like my biggest mentor, but I guess, from a real estate perspective, I'm looking at it right here, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller.
Yeah.
And The One Thing by Gary Keller would be both like purely real estate books that were amazing. And for life, I would think, just The Power of Now, just because that kind of set off a whole chain. Power versus Force is another one by Richard Dawkins.
Oh, not many people have read that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. David Hawkins. That's kind of out there. Yeah. I've read that over the last a long time, maybe over 10 years, because it's such a hard read.
Yeah.
I finally had to listen to it on Audibles because it's pretty out there. At first you're like, what? But that's a powerful book.
That was a powerful book. And I think a lot of this, like the creativity thing didn't come to me from a real estate book. It came to me from a more like outside of real estate perspective, which now I'm trying to figure out how to bring into my real estate, which I just had as a thought is in a moment of stillness last week. It wasn't while I was like being busy. It came in a moment of like stillness where that thought popped in my head. I'm like, hey, this is cool. We could do this, Power versus force in negotiating, though, is huge. It's huge because most people want to force negotiating, and that kills it. Right. It's everybody you have to read Power versus Force. Just trust me. Just get through the first. Read it. Yeah.
Tough, but it's worth it. And this is the final. If there's one thing that you hope that we take away from this interview and from you, what would it be?
Well, I would say to keep evolving, and I'll share an example with you. I just did a big lift, which I just finished this year. I got certified as a professional coach, not because I want to coach people, but it was a 300-hour program that involved a lot of coaching and like you have to be very active and mentoring coaches and on-site weekends and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
And to sell houses.
Be doing this.
60 million a year, by the way.
But it's like, but I did that. Okay, now I'm on to the next one, and I'm writing some stuff down and working on a book project. So it's like keep evolving, keep learning, keep pushing yourself, because staying static is just boring, And I think with the changes of the real estate industry that are happening right now in the world, anybody that doesn't retool and keep learning and keep adjusting, we're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Awesome. That was it. That last sentence. That was awesome. Anybody say it again, just so everybody gets it.
If you don't retool and readjust and keep learning, you are going to be left behind. So, but you should be doing it as a result of like wanting to really love it. And it's not easy necessarily, but what's easy isn't necessarily the best thing anyway. I think I've learned in life from my failures a lot more than any successes. So.
Beautifully said. Ben, thank you so much, everybody. Ben, South Florida Compass, thank you so much for being on the show.